neighborhood. A beautiful day, no audio. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a cold day in the neighborhood. A cold day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Where is my search at? Would you be power to the people? Allow power to the people. Ah, search. Hey, everybody. It is really cold outside. And I don't like it. But it ain't nothing I can do about it except deal with it. Let's see, right? Post. Okay, now it is shared. It's so cold outside. It's that kind of cold, especially those of you who are watching us. You're not in Buffalo. It's that kind of cold where you do not want to even get up out of the bed. Now, I don't know what's going on with this year's cold because I'm not usually this cold. It's just, I could sit in my house and be fine. Monique usually has like 29 blankets on, socks, bonnet, well, not a bonnet, scarf, gloves.
In the house.
Heater on her foot, ever in the house. Me, I'll be walking around in basketball shorts. This year, it's all changed. This year, I'm cold. Matter of fact, was it last year or the year before last? My kids brought us a thing you put underneath your sheets, and it heats both sides of the bed, but we both have controls. She always has hers on hell. And I always have mine off. Well, this year, she still has hers on hell, fire, and mine is on the 3, and I think it can go up to like 7. Yeah, I'm using the heater. Now, I hated those things because I was always scared of them, like those and electric blankets I've always been really scared of. But now, no, I'm not scared of them anymore. Got a lot going on and got a lot to talk about today. First, I want to say big ups again to Mo Badger and Mike Norwood on that race show. What is it, Amazing Race?
Amazing Race, yep.
Amazing Race. They were back on it, like by the stroke of, I mean, when you talk about stroke, I ain't going to say luck, but it doesn't happen. Contestants never come back. They end up going back after being eliminated. They end up going back because I think Kevin Jolly's at the door. He want to record our conversation about the streets. I see his camera. So they end up coming back because of the pandemic. Some of the other folks couldn't come back. And so they called Mo Badger, Mike Norwood, and some other teams to come back. Let me tell you this. If you didn't see it, and I don't watch The Amazing Race, I watch it because of Buffalo. I watch it all simply because Buffalo was on. I don't think I've ever really watched it all the way through. But because Buffalo was on and they were on twice, I watched it. Now, Mo Badger, now they did this thing. Now, I'm definitely afraid of heights. Mm-hmm. We have a balcony in our living room that I don't even like going in. I really don't. I'm afraid. When I go to a church, if I'm visiting and they put me in the balcony, I'd rather go home. And that's the truth.
Really?
I am that paranoid. That's why in the new sanctuary, there will be no balcony. Seriously, I am so afraid of people being emotional in balconies, and I just don't want to be the church where Dancing John flips off the balcony.
So that's why you said at the meeting, the next pastor.
The next pastor,
can do
if he
whatever
wants
he
to,
wants.
the ceiling will be high enough, and if the next pastor wants to put a balcony in, more power to them. But Darius Pridgen, I'm petrified. So anyway, on this amazing race, Mo Badger has to walk around this mountain. Let me tell you how sick to the stomach I was watching it, because if it had been myself and Monique, because out there is a couple, because there was one couple on there, several couples, but if we had to do it, Monique was like, "Oh, I'd have did it. I would have." There was a African American woman who they basically had to send a team out and almost carry her back. That would have been me. I ain't dogging her at all, because that when I tell you, if it was like you are the one that has to go, man, I would have. Y'all would have been talking about me so bad back here in Buffalo, because I would have just bust out crying. Like I'm going home. Matter of fact, they wouldn't even have this race. I'd have got eliminated from, because I couldn't have walked.
Not to bust out crying though.
I might have bust out crying. I'm so scared. We went to Brazil, and we went to the Jesus statue. Mm-hmm. When I tell you, it's so many people up there. First of all, I was so paranoid about getting around the edge, and I was looking over, and I was just like, oh my goodness. And then we went to Sugarloaf. It's high up, and you got my stomach. I could barely take it. So big ups to Mo for walking that line, because it was amazing that he could. So they were eliminated. And at the end of the day, I'm proud of them. I'm proud because they got there. I'm proud because I took a picture of them wearing the Buffalo, New York emblem on the amazing race. That's how you do it. In a minute, after we talk about the snowstorm, I'm going to be talking about a study from Harvard University, what we face, framing problems in the black community. And this is out of the eyes of black folks. One of the things that they talk about is how we don't stick together. And this is a study out of Harvard University.
Wow.
So I have nothing negative to say. Now, I might rib on Mo because he ribs on Monique. They can rib on each other. Mm-hmm. But I ain't hurting nobody.
No.
It's not my style. And when it is somebody from your town, man, promote them, love on them, be proud of them. I think I put it on Mo's page. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And when you under pressure like that, and you got to make quick, it's easy to be at home talking about, oh, I would have did this. And I would have. You ain't even get on the show. Shut up. You wasn't even on the show.
And not even going to try to apply.
Not even going to try to apply.
Not at all.
Just stop it. So we're going to talk about that. Let's talk for a minute about this storm. Now, Mark, you got the...
Yep.
I want to read to people. I'm not going to read the whole... Oh, it's thick. Oh, no, we're not reading this whole thing. So what I have in my hand is every year the administration or the Department of Public Works submits to the council what is known as the snow removal plan.
Oh, I thought I had it up.
And it's the standard operating procedure for snow removal. Now, I'm going to talk about this a little bit because this thing is very detailed. Is it online, or do you have to?
Yep. Well, I don't know if the mayor files it on the city website, but you can find it on the council's page from the November 9th, 2021 agenda.
So I like to empower people. So you can look and actually see what the snow removal plan is. Now, let me say this from the beginning. Before, for people who don't understand how this works, the council does not remove snow.
No.
It is an administrative function, which means basically it comes out of the mayor's office. He appoints commissioners. So we did take calls and we did respond to calls. Now, even though I said that, I want to say this. I'm not pointing blame. Because at the end of the day, it takes all of us. So yes, the council might not be in charge of removing snow, but if our districts are not cleared, then we have a responsibility to step in and say what went wrong. So you're hearing it here first. Several council members have already filed a resolution that is asking the Department of Public Works to appear before the council and talk about what went wrong and what went right. Because everything didn't go wrong. Some things went wrong, some things went right. So that is going to happen within the next 2 weeks, unless there is a pending storm that we hear about. And then I have the option of calling a special meeting to have that discussion with the Department of Public Works to find out why and what happened. Now, obviously, I'm sure everybody has heard the explanation from the press release from the administration that, it was record-breaking snowfall, that they were doing the best they could. I know that there was a lot of problems out there with cars stuck on certain sides and the snow plows not being able to get through. So I think so much has to be examined. A lady called me yesterday and said, hey, I want to give a suggestion that like in the suburbs, people can't park on the street at night in the winter. And I said, that's not going to work in the city because there are so many houses without driveways. Where do you go? You're going to have to walk 7 blocks. But what I appreciated was her even calling to suggest. And so what I'm saying today is this. We can play blame game all day. It's not going to get us anywhere. What we have to do is hear from those who are in charge of the snow removal and then see as a city, as a council, as the administration, are there other supports that need to be in place so that this, I'm never going to say it won't happen again because you could have like the October storm where you get more than you ever would expect. However, I do want to minimize having the same problems over and over again. And one of the things that I want to hear from Commissioner Finn, and I'm just going to say this, Commissioner Finn does not work for the council. He works for the administration. However, he's very conscientious. I got to say this. If he was wrong, I would say it. Very conscientious. Every time we called, if there was a problem, we had funeral homes that obviously some of them are on side streets. They have funerals. We call, they send somebody out. It was hustle day. It was hustle day.
And I would say him and his team.
Him and his team.
Yeah.
And a big shout out to Henry Jackson, man. This man is, when I say I think he sleeps in his truck. So I cannot say that it was. And once we hear from them, I cannot say that it was because of neglect, because they were out there. And I probably shouldn't say this, but this is what I hear, that they even have some drivers out because of this pandemic.
Yeah.
So now you're dealing with COVID. You're dealing with a storm that dumps on us. You're dealing with the alternate parking situation. But it's not for me to explain yet. I want to hear from the administration. But here,
and not only
go ahead.
Alternate parking, you got to think about the situation of now the fact that you have more people working from home. So now even during the day where you probably could come straight down the street, you now have people just working from home. So you're still there's multiple layers that you have to peel back because we've never dealt with a snowstorm in a pandemic.
It is really, really tough. You're totally right. This is the first time. In the city's snow removal plan, and this is kind of interesting, the 2 general principles that apply.
Because I can bring it up.
Huh?
What page you on?
Oh, 1. That apply to effective ice control are Prevent pack, don't melt it. The application of salt very early in a storm with appropriate follow-up applications will generally prevent pack from forming. And then if salt will work, use it. All right. So it talks about that, but I want to get to the nitty gritty stuff. So when, because some people were talking about, well, these guys must have took off. There's even in here a portion on page 3 about leave approvals. Maintenance staffing levels are based on full utilization of personnel during snow and ice season. The guidelines related to granting leave approvals at this time are as follows. Extended leave requests 4 more days will be blah, blah. It goes into even making sure, I'm not going to bore you all with that detail, that you have a full staff. The only thing that would really pull down staffing levels in the winter, according to this plan, is if you had call-ins, if people were sick. And of course, you don't want them to be there. I want to get to this part, Mark. All right, here it is. Residential, because that's the biggest complaint that I heard, is about residential streets. And according to the plan, within 24 hours of a snow event, the goal of the Department of Public Works is to complete at least one snowplow pass on every residential street in the city of Buffalo. The first priority is always to keep primary or main streets and evacuation routes clear. Because of this, snow accumulation on some residential streets may be greater than usual during severely heavy or continuous storms. It's important that you know this plan. So they first go to the larger places. Now, I mean, the main streets, and some may say, well, why? Because you have to get the bus routes. Everybody cannot stay home during the storm. They have to get the bus routes. You want to be able to get through emergency vehicles. You need to be able to open up, hospital areas. All those things are so important. This plan, which is online, even has how many trucks we have and the sizes of them. And what I do notice is we don't have a lot of smaller trucks. We don't have, and that might be something, because when you talk about some of those side streets and you talk about where people couldn't, some people really, and I know people say everybody should have been able to get out. Honestly, some people could not. If you think about, and I don't want to say if you think about somebody whose car was totally snowed in, the plow comes through. If you're there by yourself and you weigh 70 pounds like me, 170 pounds, it can be, there were all these things that were happening all at one time.
Yep.
And there were so many cars that were stuck, that two-wheel drive, can't move it. It took community. So I will say this about, because, we talk about the ugly. But
Right.
let me talk about the good for a minute.
Absolutely.
The city of Buffalo definitely wore the name Good Neighbors during this storm.
Absolutely.
Because I saw so many people out helping plow out people, shoveling out people, pushing people. As a matter of fact, I got the fever. I woke up, went and bought a snowblower,
Sure
took my
did.
boys out, and we did out almost our whole block. But and then went back out and did it again and helped people shovel out their driveways. That's what Buffalo is made of. So we show who we are when we get in the fix. But again, I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here to find solutions. Because at the end of the day, everybody can point a finger, but I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, it is the city's responsibility to clear streets. Now, in this plan, they even have about snowdrift areas, and they list out, for instance, Ellicott, which I represent, somebody are not our street, but it might be from an old map. Wow, a few of these are not in Ellicott, Jefferson, Emsley, Spring, Pine, South Division, and then it has the secondary streets and kind of I don't know if they go in this order, but they have the secondary streets listed out here, and then about what happens if there's a closure, blah, blah, blah. So let me tell you my greatest concern with not being able to move the snow as fast as people would have liked, including me. It was about school.
Absolutely.
Folks, and I'm going to read this study in a minute about what we face framing problems in the black community. Our children, our students cannot afford to miss a day of school. I know snow days are built in. This is not the season to go, oh, we got so many snow days we can blow. Many of our children are severely behind. This is when the city and the Board of Education, everybody has to work together. Because if we're about to have snow patterns like this, we've had our children out of school 2 years. We cannot afford to have our children out of school because we did not get the streets plowed out quick enough. This cannot be the pattern. And I'm going to say it again. I don't play the blame game. I want to get in rooms and work out and figure out, is there anything else the city of Buffalo needs to do, all of us, in order to really minimize our children being out of in-person classes for 2 days? Big ups to the teachers who did the remote, because I had to go back and forth in the house because I had a kid in the house. I had one in private school, one in public school. The private school was open. No disrespect to the public school, because I got it, because many of those children are out on the bus stop at 6 o'clock, and if you can't see them, it could have been very dangerous. One was at home. I could go home. There's many parents who can't. So I need people to see this from the eyes of people without resources.
Yep.
If you have resources and you have money or you have a support network, then you can say to a first grader, okay, you're going to go to grandma's house. But what about those people who do not have resources? Usually, if they don't have resources, they're not the manager on their job. They have to then report into work.
Yep.
Like, we've got to start seeing that. I want to encourage all of us, especially who are in decision-making seats of power, that those citizens that are struggling the most, especially financially, we have to make decisions. Decisions have to be made with them in mind first. That's my feeling. You can't make decisions for those who have and go, oh, they'll be able to weather this storm. They'll be able to deal with the kid. No. I feel for the person who's working at a minimum wage job, has to go in, got a child now at home because of a storm, and the streets aren't clear yet. That's major. And I'm going to say it for the 10th time, because some people wear their feelings on the sleeve, and they're going to go, oh, he was blamed. No, daggone it. This is, I'm telling you, as a person, just as a dad, as a resident, I want our children in school. And when we have these snow events, to me, I feel we have to, everybody works in their, many people work in their own silos.
Yeah.
So you got the Board of Education, they work in their silo. You've got the council working in their silo, the mayor, the administration working in their silo, this county working in their silo. That can't be when you have a major snowstorm. You can't. Everybody has got, we almost need a war room. There ought to be a location that when events like this happen, that all of the major entities get together. Because if the city isn't clean, it affects education. And education, I just said this yesterday, I was the guest speaker for Hilbert College. Education to me is that's the most important thing. So now the city just got we'll get $300 million over in stimulus funds. At the end of the day, if something needs to be spent so that we can make sure our children get to school because one of the not school bus drivers, one of the snow plow drivers said, Pridgen, there's certain streets I can't get down because I got cars over here, cars over there. So does that mean we need more smaller plows if we're going to continue this alternate street parking?
And I'll say this. So what's interesting is, where I live down by Larkinville, I was giving kudos to, whoever our building contracted to clear the parking lot out. So then, like a day later, I was like, what's interesting is I see this small vehicle plowing the street between our building and the parking lot. So I'm like, man, kudos to the city. About 30 minutes later, I realized that was the contractor
doing the street,
doing the street between our building, because it was a smaller, like a construction vehicle with a little small plow, because we got that dumb bump out. And I was just like, wow, okay, like you said, that's where we got to start thinking.
So here is one thought, because again, it would be easy for me to sit here and go, oh, that's not the council,
right?
But people don't want to hear that.
No.
They want to hear, what are you going to do? Right? This was my thought. We continue to do garbage collection. Some municipalities said we're not picking up
suspended.
Garbage, right? Why not when we have a major snowstorm, suspend garbage for those 2 days. Take those workers, reassign them.
Yeah.
Take out smaller vehicles. And if you think about it, if you can drive that big sanitation truck, cross-train, work with the unions, cross-train them to then do plow trucks, maybe smaller plow trucks, so that now instead of cleaning up the garbage, because we can deal with 3 days, we'll catch up, right? But that to me would be the most advantageous, because a lot of the garbage didn't get picked up anyway.
Right.
Because if you think about it,
Couldn't
the plows had already pushed all the snow up. Now there was no place to even place your can. So why not reassign people so that now, even if this might sound really dope, and I know Councilmember Golombek has really tried year after year to have smaller, even handheld vehicles, handheld apparatus. So take those who would normally be out, and even if you got to put them on a handheld, on a snowblower. If you think about it, in the summertime, we do these clean sweeps, right? Yep. So the mayor does these clean sweeps in neighborhoods, and you take the bunches of people, and you go to a neighborhood. Well, if you know that you have a street or several streets that the big plow can't get down, we've got to have, and I'm sure when we talk to Mike Finn next week that he will answer these questions. But I'm not afraid to hear from the public. I'm not afraid to hear suggestions.
And I was going to say, and I think two things along with that. I think when you are doing the clean sweep, especially as you approach towards the end of the year, and like you said, in those neighborhoods, I think that's where you start saying, hey, here's the snow plan for your street. If we get a certain amount, we're going to need you to be on one side of the street so we can come down. I think you start the education in the summer, like you said. And to your other idea, I think it also works because even if you do get the smaller vehicles, you could be like some of these other towns and villages where you start cleaning out those corners and the handicap ramps for the sidewalks. Because you had the conversation. I felt terrible watching property owners, store owners, homeowners on the corner unit.
Yes.
Because that's where the plow dumps for that block before it goes to the next one. My heart goes out, and especially when it's like an older person trying to chisel through all that ice.
Yeah.
So I think even if it is reallocating some of those garbage workers or other workers, sanitation workers, into even just corner bump outs and stuff like that, just that alone, I think, would also be a help.
I totally agree. Eve Taylor on Facebook says that's actually a good idea. I think that when you have something major like this, some things you just got to stop some things,
Yeah.
and everybody's got to come over on this side and join over here and help. Valerie Allen says on the north side there was a small plow cleaning out driveways from the big plow leftover snow, and that's kind of what do we need a workforce that we already have? You don't have to go out and hire 50 more people that then are going to be doing nothing and add to the cost of the city. Suspend the garbage. Suspend garbage pickup. Take those workers, move them on.
And finally, I saw somebody bring up the education piece. And I completely agree, because my kids in Delaware, they literally get one message that switched them from physical to remote. Like, there is no more questions. They get the email the night before, or even early in the morning. Whatever the word is, they know they're remote.
Well, I will say this for Buffalo Public Schools, because that's obviously where my youngest goes. They told them the night before, make sure, or even that weekend, the weekend before, take home your computers. And so then we get a message from Buffalo Public Schools, tomorrow we will be remote. My heart was like, yeah, right. Is this going to work? My son is at the table on time, signs in, and school does start on time.
Okay.
So which meant this teachers are ready, because I can't take that away. They were ready. And surprisingly, and this is good, most of his classmates were on.
Good.
So I got to say that part did work. I just want them to be in. They need to be in school. And we can't afford that they're not. Shugi says there should be a readiness plan to switch. Yep. And it seemed like it was, and it seemed like it worked, and you all could tell me. Adair says, I've called your office every day this week, still no snow removal in parking spots on Linwood, and we have responded every day that you called, and we have asked them to go out. So if there's another area,
even
we're
asked
in the
again
office.
Today.
We even asked again today, so we have not ignored it. And if I had a plow, I'd come out and plow it myself. Leona Harper, I believe they did a great job despite of having the amount of snow we received. The plows could not come out on some side streets because there were cars on both streets. To make it easy,
on our street, we removed all cars, which was not easy.
Yeah, and I saw people working together, even on our street. I was out there. Several of my neighbors couldn't get out their driveways.
Yep.
How about this? Let me tell you this. I bought a snowblower. I got like it was 4 snowblowers left at Home Depot. I didn't care. I bought one. So I haven't had a snowblower in a while. I'm teaching my sons how to snowblow, because what I realized is my 14-year-old has never had to shovel snow. So
Lord
he's
Jesus.
been shoveling. He's been shoveling now.
Yeah.
So I'm showing him how to work it without reading the instructions. So it's electric start. So I plug it in,
Yeah.
prime it up, put new gas in it, and it's going. Can't get it to start. My 14-year-old looks at me and says, Papa, do you have to put that key in there? I said, key?
Not the key.
There was a key. So I was like, I don't know. So I stick the key in, and boom. Okay, hold on. So now we snow blowing now. We moving, but we ain't cooking with butter, right? It's moving slow. So what do? Put it up to gear 7. I'm in gear 7. And I'm now going over the snow. It's like making a ramp. So now I'm leaning all on the snowblower. We
Trying to get it down to the ground.
And, we pushing it. We go. I'm like, whew, we ain't gonna make it all the way up this street. Now, this snow is heavy. Come home, take off all my stuff. We warriors, man. We warriors. My father calls. Y'all remember my father, the one who got the bat out my room? He said, I said, yeah, I got a snowblower. I was out there. I said, that's snow hard. He said, ain't nothing matter. That's snow easy. I said, no. I said, we was pushing. I said, he said, what gear did you have it in? I said, I had it all the way up to 7. He said, no, No, I did not teach you anything. I said, what are you talking about? You can't have it up to 7 when you got that much snow because that makes it go faster. You got to keep it down in the 1 or 2. I'm arguing. No, because no. Get on YouTube, look at my model. What do they say? 1 or 2. And go slow. How about I went back out at night? And read, because I had to prove that I learned something. Went back out at night by myself and went back down the street and was able to get further down the street than where I was. Carolyn Lane says it was a holiday as well. That's true.
That is true.
I mean, there's all of these factors, but I still want us to do better. I want the city to do better. Let's see who else. Let's see. Valerie Allen, on the north side, there was a small plow cleaning. Oh, I already read that. I got to get some new ones. Craig gonna say that's a shame. Craig said that. Let me tell you why my son just got on here and said that's a shame. We go to dinner last night for my daughter-in-law's birthday month. So he says he was outside, snow blowing, and how he had to push it, then back up, then push it. And I said, listen to this. What gear was you in? He says, all the way up to the highest. No, son, you can't do that.
So now you exchanging.
Well, I shouldn't tell this, but I was talking to a certain council member whose name starts with a W and ends with a T. And he said he was out. He said, D, man, that snow was something, man. I said, this is after I talked to my father. What gear were you in? He says the same thing. No, man. You can't be in 7 in that kind of snow. The man on YouTube said the only time you put it in 7 is when it's clear and you're just trying to get home quick. That's your speed gear.
See, you know what's going to end up happening. Somebody going to make you a shirt that says what gear you in. You're going to have a
what gear you in? What gear you in?
That says what gear you in. You're going to have all kind of paraphernalia about what gear is you in.
All right, I'm going backwards to get some of these comments because your suggestions are important, and that's where I think you get to better solutions. When you don't run away from a problem, when you face it, and when you fix it. It's not going to be enough to talk about it. But one of the things that I am going to ask the commissioner when he appears before the council or whoever comes is, would it be smart that this plan that I've suggested right here, that came to my mind, matter of fact, right here, as we're talking about it, because once they said they're still picking up garbage and then I'm not going to say most of it, a lot of it wasn't. We could use that manpower and woman power somewhere else. I know they were
picking up garbage because I saw people literally putting their cans on top of snowbanks and everything else, and I was just like, that's not safe.
Yeah, so it's better to just, I think it's safer for our sanitation workers and everybody else. And I'd rather, even if we don't get smaller plows, but I do think we do need some smaller plows. But I think we also need an army of snowblowers that are able to go out there and you just start clearing out neighborhoods, especially the hardest hit neighborhoods. Now, every time it snows, every neighborhood doesn't get hit the same.
Right.
But when you get a neighborhood, especially I haven't been to many other sides of town. I've been in Ellicott District. I've ride through Ellicott. Matter of fact, I rode through a street today, called, say, hey, this street is not cleaned up enough. And my fear is I don't want it to ice in lumps. Yeah. And then we get another storm and it's worse. So I know of every council member that I've talked to, every council member that I personally talked to during the storm and after the storm have ride around their district and look and make the calls. And so we want to make sure. That's a lot of empty lots in it. I'm not sure what that means, May. May Bynum said that's a lot of empty lots. Shuki says opportunity for sub. Yes, for sub. I got excited and didn't even finish what she said. Shuki says opportunity for subcontractors who live in those neighborhoods. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that Golumbek's, and I may be a little off, but his council member Golumbek, he's always talked about these subcontractors. And I agree because, and that's what I mean about having an army ready to go in a major storm. So that the only thing about subcontractors is if you're a plow company, you already have contracts.
Well, I was going to say not only that, because just in case it's just Boo Boo who just put a plow on the front of his pickup, you got to, when you're doing that on behalf of the city, you got to make sure you're carrying that level of insurance.
You got to have insurance.
Got to have the insurance before we just go higher.
You can't be coming down knocking all the mirrors off the cars and doing all that. But we have to do something. Oh, May says I've got a lot of empty lots on the street. Yeah, there are a lot of empty lots. And by the way, I'm glad you said that because the first thing people think is it's an empty lot, it belongs to the city. Folks, every empty lot does not belong to the city. But the lots that do belong to the city, we have to make sure we take care of those. I didn't get to this topic. I'm going to finish up, continue talking about streets because I think that that's so important, and sidewalks. I mean, Shuki is on it. She says insurance registration, possibly with the
city of Buffalo.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of this. There's probably some community-based organizations out there. I'll give you an example.
You meant CBOs.
CBO. I see COB. I was like, because think about this. If True Bethel had a plow, and we don't, but I am considering for next year to have our own plow, not to plow the parking lot because it's too big of a job, but to have it so that especially the members of this church who are seniors who cannot get out. I really the other day was like, True Bethel needs a plow. I don't know. That's another subject, not for the station. But I really want us to have a plow. And that when we have to emergency plow our own lots at time. But I really want to be able because we have seniors who come here every Sunday, and if they can't get out, man, that's where we should be responding.
So I know you said you were going back to the streets. I was just scrolling back through the plan. It actually, starting at page 20, lays out the city of Buffalo's emergency evacuation routes and each run that they will do. And I can bring it up.
On 20? Oh, yeah, I see it.
Yep.
I see it. To get us out in case there's a war or something? No, I'm just kidding.
Not war.
Whatever. So let me, okay, I'm going to stay with the streets, but next week I really want to deal with this report on framing problems in the black community. She said we could deploy our army. Yeah. I mean, so this is what I'm thinking. This Shuki talking about my thought about True Bethel getting, I want to plow. And the same way we are able to feed people in the street for free, the same way we're able to take clothes to people on our clothing bus. I am really thinking about selling one vehicle so that I can get another vehicle, or investing in another vehicle, and that next vehicle would be a plow. But here's the thought. I don't just want to plow. I also want to take that same vehicle and be able to put lawnmowers on them. And in the summertime, young people who don't get a summer youth job or something like that, who go to church, are able to go out and we cut our own members' yards who cannot cut them themselves for free. And that's my thought. My head is always thinking. My head is always like, how do you take it to the next level? How do you help somebody else more? So, all right, I'm getting off track. So if I had a chance, and I'll talk about this next week, I just want to read to you the topics so that we are primed for next week about what we face framing problems in the black community. And this is from the voices of people in the black community, a study of 150 interviews with middle class and working African-American men and women. And it is a study by Nicole Hirsch of the Department of Sociology of Harvard and Anthony Abram Jack of Sociology from Harvard. And I thought what was interesting, I'm not going to read the data and the methods, but the findings. And the findings are from the words of African Americans, and we'll deal with it next week. Number one was racism. They talked about racism and how it affects us. And one person is quoted as saying, unfortunately, that's been the problem since this country started. It is based on racism. I say racism, people say other things. They say slavery, which is true and has continued to be that way. There's been a struggle with that. There's still a struggle because of the way somebody looks or acts, and then they use the color issue. That's a big, big problem, and still is. I'm quoting from this paper. Racism. Then number two, and I don't know if it's in order, but on the study, is solidarity. Solidarity. It says middle and working class respondents emphasize that African Americans lack solidarity. And the reason I bring it up is because of us being at Canisius the other day. And that one student who kept coming back to African American student about us not sticking together. That was bothering him a lot. Yeah. He couldn't even, he kept going back. So it is on the minds of people. So it says respondents believe that lack of solidarity has negative social, economic, and political consequences for African Americans, and compared African Americans to crabs in the barrel who pull one another down. In this vein, a middle-class woman who worked as an HIV counselor commented, if somebody knows something about somebody, they need to share it. I find that black people don't help each other out as much as Latino people, this is her quote, stick together. For instance, I knew somebody that was buying a house and they got all these funds to do it, and I asked the person, would she help me, point me in the right direction, and she wouldn't. Family is another issue that they see. Our family structure, economics. I think I missed one. This is a great report. Economics, poverty, talk about that. Lack of financial acumen, not knowing what to do with our money.
I agree with that. Wow.
That one quote says, they have a new way of enslaving us. It's called debt. You go to work for, and I'm only quoting from the paper. These are not my words. You go to work for them now. If you had a large credit card debt and all this kind of debt out here, who are you going to work for? You're going to work to pay all the debt. And they are starting to stop you from creating a whole bunch of debt by filing bankruptcy. I have to read it through. Now they can sue your butt, and I'm only reading somebody else's comments. And probably later on they will put you in jail because you borrowed all that money from them. Basically, I don't agree with all this, but what I do agree with is that the debt. So you're working to pay debt.
I agree, and we've talked about this before with the pipeline that keeps you impoverished, and it's by zip code.
Yep.
And now I'm paying more insurance, which if I have a lap in insurance in New York State, now I get a ticket. Now I'm missing court. So it's just one layer.
It's that cycle. It's the cycle. And the last one was consumerism and conspicuous consumption.
Ooh.
Let me read a little bit about that and hopefully not get tongue-tied. Consumerism and conspicuous consumption are two intimately connected economic obstacles discussed by respondents. Middle-class respondents were more than twice as likely as working-class respondents to mention them. They saw black spending habits as detrimental to their group's progress. One middle-class woman explained, everyone is trying to get the bins. Everybody is trying to get through the doors of Neiman Marcus. Everybody is trying to just get the biggest and the best rather than trying to figure out what's really important to move us forward. They, too, are caught up in the material crap to really look at the situation. Now, let me say this. In my house, we are spending, and this is the truth, buku bucks right now on tutors.
Right.
Tutors. probably we will spend more than my son's tuition on tutors. And the reason is 2 years of pandemic. The most important thing I can give them is the opportunity to succeed by really getting them to understand their best self.
Yeah.
So, they were going to go on some vacation, and Monique said to me, you know what? I'd rather stay here. Pay to get our children where they need to be. That's where my money is going right now. Not to GameStop. And I ain't saying we don't buy other things for our kids, but the priority in my house right now is the education of our children. Because all of these things that are listed that we'll deal with next week, it goes back to me again to education.
Yeah.
Because if I can't get a job, not just a job, because we talk about getting a job, we got to look beyond a job.
We need careers.
We need careers. We need our children to have the opportunities to discover who they are. When we were over at Canisius, and these kids are talking about being, molecular scientists, and who, if you think, and I've said this before, especially in the black church, when we talk about careers, the only thing is brought up most time, doctor, lawyer, that's all we know.
Yep.
That's all we talk about. Because many times that's all we've been exposed to.
Absolutely.
And our children deserve. My youngest went to robotic camp this year in the summer because I don't want them sitting around all year. Do something, but our children need the opportunity. And that's why, I know we've been slack. I ain't going to tell any story because we couldn't get together with our youth. But when I got here, and my strong feeling even now as a pastor is if people are going to populate this church, I have a responsibility to ensure that our young people are exposed to different things. And when they did their mission trip before COVID to Belize, and we were planning another one, I look at those kids who went to Belize. One of them just got into the honor society. They're in college. They because they got exposed to different things. Most of them had never been outside the country, had to go out and get passports for the first time. If this is not the most important thing for us, streets being plowed is important. But what's more important is why it's important for the streets to be plowed. That's what's more important. Justine Harris says, hey, Bishop, thanks as usual, for empowering us with knowledge. That's right. That's what it. Justine, let me say this. One of the things in this report I read is if we started sharing and teaching one another, I want to encourage those of you who are out there. Start sharing things, if you're on social media, that can help people. There's a time for joking, and God knows I joke. As the older I get, the more I joke. I like to laugh. I'm not going to be miserable all my life. I'm not going to be crying every day. Nope, I'm going to laugh. But I also am going to share information I have. If we begin to use this platform called social media to share and educate without trying to hurt and harm and try to be like we're bigger than somebody else because we keyboard bullies, we get so much further. Share that information. Like I just shared the information about where to get the tests that I can't get, by the way. We tried. They will not send it to us because it says my house is not registered as a house, and it is. Wow. It has been switched on the city records. It has been switched with the post office. So anyway, she says, anywho, what suggestions you guys have for removing snow from sidewalks, and how can I ask Commissioner Finn to have his plows? Boy, I lost. What'd she say?
Can I ask Commissioner Finn to have his plow trucks dump the snow into the lots owned by the city instead of the snow plowed from the beginning of our street, Genesee, and brought all the way down and dumped in front of our driveways?
Justine, can you give me a call Monday at the office? Let's talk about it, because when we have them there, or send me an email. That's what I want you to do. Justine, send me an email, the exact location, because it's not a bad idea. I don't know how strategic they could do it, but it's not a bad. Let's listen to ideas.
Yeah, because I can see the only holdup if the only city-owned lot is in the middle of the block.
and then you dumping it
and
and
then
all
you
that.
dump it there, and then you still got to pick up and get down the rest of the street.
But let's look at it.
But yeah, it's worth it.
She said I had to clear snow away from the fire hydrant. So, folks, I saw firemen out, firefighters out today clearing right on Mulberry.
Yep.
They were out, so they are out clearing. But if they are not, listen, clear your fire hydrant. Because let's remember, it could be any of our houses on fire.
Yeah.
So go out, clear that fire hydrant. If they're not, we've cleared ours. I didn't wait on the city because there's so many hydrants out there. So that's a very good point. Clear the fire hydrant. Who's Ina? Ina wants to know the author. Ina, it is, you can go online. It's in the Du Bois Review, the W.E.B. Du Bois Institute. Here, I'll give it to you easy. Just go online and search Framing Problems in the Black Community, and you will see Nicole Arlette Hirsch pull up this thing because we're going to talk about it next week. Listen, I'm out of time. Hobson's the doctor dry cleaning. Eddie said before, East Delavan, take your clothes over to Hobson's the doctor dry cleaning. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home, 3 locations to serve you, 2528 Bailey, and the other ones. Oh, 347 Peckham, 1275 Sycamore Avenue, in your hour of need. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home. I'm out of time. Send it back over to the station. Power to the people.